All right, guys, I want to kind of talk about one of the most important variables, one of the most important aspects to maintaining a highly active training lifestyle. If you're someone who just loves to run, ride, swim, climb, hike, you want to just, be active pretty much on a daily basis, but you want to be able to be resilient to injuries. But you're trying to navigate a kind of a successful work career. You've got a busy family life. You've got a lot going on in the background around your training, but you want to have this busy lifestyle. These are the individuals that I only work with. I have this luxury of working with people who are highly motivated. They're driven. They want to be successful with their training. They want to see how strong, fast, far they can kind of go with their training. But they've also got a lot else going on. There's one key variable that, as a coach, I am on a daily basis looking to help someone improve, and that is their relationship with managing their own training load. Okay, understanding that there is such a danger to working from just a templated program. Okay, like we are living in a world right now where you can just get a training template from anywhere. Like it's crazy how it's just handed out like almost like sweets to people. Like where all the major media outlets, they just hand out 16-week, 20-week, 24-week kind of training programs, 6 weeks of 6 days a week of training, kind of building you up to a 50K race, a 100K race, an Ironman event. Like we'll look back one day and look at this approach and go, wow, like that was negligence of the highest order. Why, guys? Because every single one of us is leading a very busy lifestyle elsewhere, and to think that we can just drop a bunch of 16 weeks worth of training sessions onto our lifestyle and hope that it's going to get us to where we are. Guys, there are very few people that can truly kind of just move from one of these templates to another, to another, to another. Most people may ride through a training template like that and they'll break down. They will overtrain. They will pick up an injury. They may not even make the start line of the event. If they do, they're probably completely under-recovered. They are completely potentially overtrained. And even if they are successful in that program, to then follow that model again and again, like a lot of the time they're riding your luck, because guys, there's so much more to a sustainable training program than just the training sessions alone. Guys, there's a reason why there's such an abundance of just training programs out there and the access to it. Like, I know a lot of us are now utilizing AI and things like this to kind of help us with this. But again, this is all based on the information you're putting into it. Like the questions that and I will always lean into this, guys. The most important thing that I'm always thinking about with the people that we work with is having this sustainable relationship with your training. Like stepping outside of the endurance bubble, like training 6 days a week can seem ludicrous. Like pushing your body to be able to tolerate 75 kilometers, 100 kilometers of running a week plus, that seems impossible. Like training 2 or 3 times a day, that seems like that seems out of control, but it's not. It's ill sustainable. However, if you're taking it on face value and it's just training sessions alone, yeah, it would look ludicrous. But if you've got behaviors in place where the sessions are integrated around that working lifestyle, there are consistent conversations around your nutritional requirements, your recovery kind of methods, your levels of strength and conditioning are in place all the time, and you're working on these key areas. You're pushing and pulling, you're adjusting the volumes, the intensities that you're working at around your kind of other lifestyle kind of stressors, then it suddenly becomes a lot more manageable, becomes a lot more sustainable. And this is where I'm going with this, guys, is like your relationship with managing your training load is the most important thing that you could be working on. A question to you guys: if you have a week of training in front of you, do you have the ability to say yes or no to all those sessions? Do you have the ability to leave a couple of those sessions out if you unfortunately miss them due to working overtime at work, life things come in? Or are you someone who is going to hell or high water get those sessions done that week? Are you going to cram those sessions in? Like, these are the kind of behaviors that aren't going to serve you in the long term. Like, and I don't think it's not talked about enough, and it should be, because overtraining is kind of one of the biggest risks to the endurance athlete. I know a lot of people think, like, I've heard others talking about like, overtraining is a myth, and a lot of the time it's kind of under recovery, but overtraining is what we see on the symptoms, the injuries, the struggles, kind of see the benefits or the consistency that people lack with their training across 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. Guys, I'm telling you, it's very normal. We've got people who are sustainably maintaining 6 days a week of training on top of balancing, developing their own businesses. They're working in high pressure jobs, but they haven't been injured for 12, 18, 24 months. Like, they're able to sustain this high volume training program along a very, very busy lifestyle. But it's not just following sessions, kind of week to week, month to month. We're constantly asking questions around, do we need to make adjustments on a week to week basis? Do we need to adjust the volumes, the intensities that we're working at? Do we need to kind of adjust the times of the day that you're training, the days of the week that we're training? Do we need to dial back on some of the volume? Can we ramp things up? This is the secret, guys, to and your ability. I mean, I don't want it to be a secret. I want this to be the most obvious thing, because this is the personalized approach. There is a bastardization of the word personalized at the moment, where you've got these big conglomerate, these big kind of training companies pushing their personalized training programs out there. They're not personalized whatsoever. There is no qualitative information being gathered about you, your lifestyle, your work pressures, your family life, your relationship with nutrition, your recovery. I've talked about this before, but understanding how to then look at your training sessions in front of you and go, right, what are the key sessions for that week? Where do I need to be making adjustments this week to prevent potential overtraining? That track session that, it looks good on face value, looks tough on face value, but is that a session coming off the back of the long weekend? Is that session going to really be the most appropriate thing for you to be working on? Or with a quick conversation, actually maybe more of an individual interval session where you can work to your own pace, you can work to maybe your own levels of intensity. That's going to then keep you in a good place, ready for the following weekend, where you're looking to then build into a much longer run. The point is, guys, is that a lot of people are literally just following blindly a program, but they're wondering why they're struggling. They're not seeing the results. They've got injuries in place, and it's because you're following a very one-dimensional program. A comprehensive training approach is always going to take you into consideration. It has to. Yes, it's got to have strength and conditioning in place. Yes, you want to be monitoring your nutrition along the way. Yes, you want to be kind of making sure that you're recovering well. And I've talked about this before, but your ability to look at the actual training sessions on face value and go, right, are these appropriate for me towards my training goal? Are they appropriate for me right now, how my body's feeling? You've come off the back of a long weekend. You've spent the weekend not just running, not just riding, but you're an active parent. You've had a busy social life the last couple of nights. I don't know. Your sleep has been really poor. You're overwhelmed with stress because of work, and these are very common things. Your training should be changing as a result of this. As a coach, as a professional full-time coach, and this is a point I'm going to make in a minute. Daily, I'm checking in because I want to know. I'm looking at the sessions being kind of prescribed. I'm looking at the feedback that's being given. I'm looking for those kind of key markers around language where, feeling tired, fatigued, not sleeping well, I'm hungry, I'm not, there's little indicators that are kind of signposting that actually the training sessions coming up, we might need to challenge them a little bit or change them a little bit, adjust them. Why? Because we're looking to build every single week within a training program. There's an expectation for us to add volume, add intensity, work to faster paces. We want all of that, but it's never linear. It's never going to be linear, guys. It's so important to speak openly about this, because a lot of people are literally blinkered to following what's on the plan. And unfortunately, it does work for some people for a certain amount of time, and then they break significantly. There are people out there who are literally being told they've got stress fractures or stress responses. They've got people who are literally are struggling with long-term tendinopathies. They've got symptoms that have apparently come out of nowhere. But actually, when you look back at the last 16, 20, 24 weeks, the only thing they've been doing is following a set of training sessions relatively kind of one-dimensionally. They've just been trying to fit these sessions into their lifestyle and compromising, and not really ever being kind of having the weekly discussion around what is appropriate for them at that time. Yes, we've got to push our body. Yes, we're going to be training in a fatigue state a lot of the time. Yes, this is part of this kind of overreaching, this kind of spectrum. As someone who wants more out of the body, you're going to tax your body at times. You're going to overreach. You're going to be fatigued at times. But that's that grey area we want to be tapping into. But we can't afford for it to be chronic. We can't afford for that to be accumulating week on week on week on week. And so we've got to be pivoting at those appropriate times. And some of you will be maybe doing that, flying by the seat of your pants, just pulling sessions out, kind of sort of spot fixing as you go along the way. But like your relationship with understanding what is appropriate for you, like the volumes of training that actually you respond well to, like you recover to. Everyone has a different tolerance, a different threshold, like how much they can, how much training load they can absorb in a week, how much intensity they can work at and sustain. Like, and this is going to be based on previous injury, previous training experience, like, like how much else you've got going on. We're all guilty of making unfair comparisons. One of the most unfair comparisons you can make is that you're a mother or father of 3 children, you're running your own business, or you're working full time, you're commuting, versus you're comparing yourself with the young professional, that's 20 something years old, that doesn't have a family, that's only yes, is that they've got a career, but they are able to be selfishly focused on just themselves. Their body is in that, that 20-year-old state where it can absorb a lot of abuse and it recovers quicker. Like, these unfair comparisons are what people are kind of living with, and just understanding that everyone needs to be developing their own understanding of how to manage their own training load. What this looks like, guys, is looking down the barrel of your week, looking at your program and going, right, this is the program I'm working to. This is what else I've got going on in my life. This is what my body is kind of feeling at the moment. These are the and we're looking at all those other areas of your life. So what does your sleep quality look like right now? What does your nutritional behaviors look like right now? What do your stress markers look like right now? All the other things you've got going on. Then we map that over the top of that training program and go, right, are there bottlenecks here? Are there moments where we're literally going to be definitely kind of peaking and potentially overtraining, pushing ourselves beyond, going to the brink? Those are the moments where you have the power to adapt those moments and adjust those moments. Instead of a group's training session up at a track, as I said, you could be doing an individual interval session. The prescribed volumes of training on your long runs, long rides at the weekend. Would you respond better to a slightly lower dose of volume, or potentially bringing in a different variation of training session? But the outcome, guys, is that you're thriving. You're not surviving. All right. And this is the most important quality to any training program, is that I'm always looking for someone to be asking more. Like, that's such a positive sign as a coach when someone's like, yep, responding well, I'm recovering well, because then you can just, giving people more is easy. It's whether someone is tolerating more. Like, and that comes from that qualitative feedback, that, hey, how are we getting on? How's the body feeling? And then that relationship that you're building with your coach, etc., where you're speaking openly about levels of stress, levels of fatigue, levels of, like, your nutrition's been good, bad, ugly, hydration needs to improve. Like, all those things are going to help you manage that training load better. And again, then you go into the training session, the program itself, and you tweak it. And this is what you all have the ability to do that. And I'm not saying everyone needs a coach, but you need to be developing this relationship with your training load and putting the blinkers on and selfishly working to what you respond well to. There will be indicators over the last number of years, all the way through. For some people have lived in this perpetual kind of vicious cycle for a long time because they've never been challenged on, like, actually, what works for you? What do you respond to? And some people have been trying to cram volume into their week for a long time. And actually, they don't realize that there's a lot of people that are respond well and are competing at a high level on half that amount of volume. I'm not training at those kind of those expected intensities. Like, there's a great deal of, you've got to earn the right a lot of the time to do this. And some people are trying to cram this into a very short window of time. You're comparing yourself with people that potentially have, who are training with, on hope at the moment. And you're looking at them and you're not seeing what actually behind the scenes. Like, so what I want to understand, guys, is that training load management is one of the most important aspects as a coach. I cannot dictate exactly what that person needs to be doing every single week, but what I can be doing as a coach is installing better behaviors, better understanding of what those markers are. Like, if sleep is compromised, if nutrition hasn't been on point, if your recovery is struggling, like if you're not responding well in some of these sessions, why? What is, and a lot of the time it's these other areas, and we can make those adjustments, but we are looking to build momentum on every single week. But to do that, it's being able to push with your training or pull back with your training, and being able to read and understand what the most important key sessions are you have in that week coming up. Otherwise, like burnout, overtraining, like it's something that is evident because of the injuries that we see. People's not seeing results. You have this boom or bust kind of relationship with training, where you train for an event and then you're then your body blows up or just completely kind of collapses afterwards, and and it takes you weeks to get back into training. Guys, we've got people who are competing and racing 50K, 100Ks, 70.3 events, and they're back training within a week, 2 weeks, and they're podiuming. They're like literally PBing, but their bodies are conditioned across the board to then rebound back into that highly active lifestyle, because it's not just the training sessions. And I'm not preaching like, oh, I can create the perfect training program. But what we do at Strength Endurance is we look with a wider lens, and we have a much greater level of touch points within the week. Part-time coaching is rife within the community. People who have got full-time jobs and then they're coaching on the side, their touch points are very few and far between. There's no real physiological understanding or kind of training and education in the background. They're just giving you training sessions, so they're not asking you those qualitative questions around life and making those adjustments on a daily basis. This is what I do. I'm coming from you. I'm speaking to you from the office. Got a studio here. Like, this is what we do on a daily basis, because this is how you maintain a high volume training lifestyle. This is how you prevent long-term injuries. This is how you create and maintain high standards of training. Like, this is how you can bounce from one event to the next, and you're back training relatively quickly, because you have this level of conditioning, deep level of strength conditioning in the body. You have a deep level, a much greater understanding of how to fuel, how to hydrate appropriately. You're able to push and pull with your training load. You're made to make those daily, weekly adjustments to your training load. But this is all part of it. But it's one of the most powerful aspects that I don't want to keep a secret. Like, it's literally the behaviors that I want people to, everyone we work with, like, we don't work with people, forever. Like, but when people leave us, I absolutely want them to have this much greater understanding of what works best for them. What areas do they non-negotiably have to keep working on? So again, some people it's their relationship with strength and conditioning. Some people it's their relationship with their nutrition. Some people it's their relationship with their training in general. Most of us are pretty much addicted to that, to having an active lifestyle and wanting to kind of keep busy. But that's not going to serve you long term if you don't know when to pull back, push on, focus on the key sessions in the week. If it's all just tick. Now I've got to tick all the boxes. Everything's got to be green on Training Peaks. Everything's got to be that. That is an unsustainable behavior because of the lifestyles that we live. We're not professional athletes. Some of us may be aspiring to be, but most of us have a lot of other stuff going on. And even the professionals understand when they need to push or pull back. And then even at the professional level, we're seeing people pulling up stress fractures left, right, and center, because that is one of the greatest signs of overreaching, overtraining at times. But that's the risk they're happy, they kind of embrace because of the intensities they want to train at. But again, they have the luxury, unfortunately, however you want to define it, but they don't have that work lifestyle they don't have to go away and work on. They may not have families yet that they have pressures around. They don't have those work projects and presentations and commuting that they have to do because of work, as well as training. Training load management as a busy working professional, as a busy mum, father, as a even with someone who is semi-retired, like, you going into that, that you have more time than ever. But that doesn't mean that your relationship with training then goes up, goes through the roof. You're still having to manage your training load more appropriately. It's such an important topic, guys. Like, I could talk to you all day about it, but I just think it's not talked about enough. And it's such an important aspect. Like, if I'm working with anyone, I need them to understand what is going to work best for them at this time, right? When we first get going together. But then as we build towards big, lofty training goals, we want to build volume, build intensity. Those training behaviors around, like, when should I push? When should I pull back? When should I make those adjustments? This is an ongoing relationship with yourself that, as a coach, I'm here to nurture and support. But it's so important, guys. Like, and again, it's being abused as we speak. It's being unbelievably abused. You're seeing people who are like struggling. Why am I not seeing the results? Why am I breaking down? Why have I got chronic injuries? Because you're following programming that is not asking all the right questions. It's not even asking any questions, really. It's just it's playing to your ego. Most of these programs are playing to your ego. They're just asking you the questions that are going to get you training, and there's no duty of care, as I've talked about. Like, if you fall to the wayside, you're just a number. You go offline. Somebody else takes your place. Like, there's no duty of care, and this is it's evident because we I see it every day, people who are just confused as to why they're breaking down. It's because this training load management hasn't been individualized for that person. You have all those other variables, factors haven't been taken into consideration. Start taking those into consideration, guys, and I promise you will start to notice. But it's a work in progress thing, because your ability to say no to a session, to be able to leave a session, to be able to reduce the volume and intensity of a session takes this level of inner maturity. And unfortunately, sometimes that I lean on someone's previous injuries, their previous struggles, to say, look, if we want to avoid this, these are the behaviors that are going to help us, never have to deal with these kind of issues consistently again. When I'm working with someone who's never been injured yet, or they can't see it happening yet, it's a kind of a harder sell. They'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So that's why we don't often work with 20-something-year-olds, because you can just tolerate a lot of abuse until you can't. But anyway, guys, training load management, massive important piece of the puzzle that it takes time to develop and nurture, especially as you're working towards big training volumes, consistent training volumes. If you want to integrate that into a busy working lifestyle, there's always going to be this push and pull relationship. And it's going to take just a regular touch points, conversation, feedback, reading between the lines in terms of sleep, nutrition, strength and conditioning, like how your body's feeling on a day-to-day basis. These things matter. They will always matter, because we're human, and we're all walking a slightly different pathway journey, and these things are going to matter more and more and more as we age, as we get, as our lives kind of get more complex at times. All right, guys, enough from me. I hope that was useful. Speak to you soon.